Hey everyone, Casey here.
And I'm Haru. Thanks for tuning in today.
Today, we're diving into something pretty deep. Why scientifically correct information doesn't always make people happy.
Wait, scientifically correct things don't lead to happiness? Isn't that contradictory?
I know, right? But here's the thing. Even when people see health data, it often doesn't change their behavior. We're drowning in health information, yet lifestyle diseases keep increasing.
Now that you mention it, that is pretty strange.
So here's the bottom line. Our brains process understanding information and accepting or being convinced by information through completely separate mechanisms.
Hold on, understanding something and being convinced by it are different things?
Exactly. Cognitive psychology has identified over 100 types of cognitive biases that distort.
Over 100? That's a lot. What kinds of biases are we talking about?
The classic example is confirmation bias, our tendency to seek out, remember, and interpret information that confirms our existing beliefs.
I get that. It's like only collecting information that's convenient for you.
Right. According to an explanation from the Japanese research institute Labo Brains in April 2025, this bias is an adaptive mechanism that evolved to help the brain process information more efficiently.
So it's not a flaw, more like an energy-saving feature of the brain?
Exactly. But it can block the acceptance of scientific fact.
Another term I'm curious about is cognitive dissonance. What's that?
It's the discomfort you feel when you encounter information that contradicts your belief. People try to reduce this discomfort by rejecting the new information or reinterpreting it to fit their worldview.
So showing people correct information can actually backfire?
That's exactly what's called the backfire effect, when presenting correct information actually strengthens someone's false beliefs.
Whoa, that's scary. So the more you argue with facts, the worse it gets?
Though there's some good news. A 2024 study from Ohio State University and George Washington University tested over 10,000 people across 52 issues and found this effect isn't as common as initially thought.
Oh, that's a relief.
But people are still reluctant to accept facts that contradict their ideology.
So ultimately, the separation between understanding and acceptance is a huge barrier for science communication.
Exactly. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio argues in his book Descartes' Error that thinking arises not from intellect, but from emotion.
Thinking comes from emotion? How does that work?
The brain has this emotional processing center called the amygdala that receives all sensory stimuli and integrates immediate reflexive responses with cognitive information.
So when information enters the brain, it first goes through an emotional filter?
Bingo aí! Research from QST, the National Institutes for Quantum Science and Technology, found that dopamine release in the amygdala is linked to the intensity of fear response.
I always thought dopamine was a pleasure chemical, but it's related to fear too.
Right. Hey. A 2023 study in Nature Neuroscience discovered that rewards play two distinct roles: value updating and inference about the state of the world.
What's the difference between those two?
Dopamine supports value updating, but doesn't support inference.
That's a bit complex. Can you break it down more?
Basically, even if you understand a scientific fact, if it doesn't get registered in your brain as a valuable choice, your behavior won't change.
I get it. Your head knows it. But if your heart doesn't move, you won't act.
Now let's look at the historical background of how this issue has been researched.
When did research on science communication start?
From the 1980s to 1990s, the dominant approach was called the deficit model.
Deficit model? What's that about?
The idea that distrust and anti-science attitudes come from the public's lack of scientific knowledge. So providing correct information will solve the problem.
Oh, so like people don't believe because they lack knowledge, so just educate them.
Exactly. But this model has repeatedly failed.
Why did it fail?
A 2023 study, published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, pointed out that exposure to verified knowledge.
Even verified knowledge isn't enough. So what's the problem?
They say the root problem isn't lack of information but erosion of trust.
It's a trust issue. That goes deep.
And to understand this problem, the development of behavioral economics is crucial.
I've heard of Daniel Kahneman. He won the Nobel Prize, right?
Yeah, he won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2002. Kahneman and Amos Tversky's research proved that humans aren't rational economic actors.
Rational economic actors?
It's the assumption in economics that humans always make rational decisions. But they proved that's totally wrong.
True, looking at myself, I'm not making rational decisions all the time.
And from this research came the famous marshmallow test by Columbia University psychologist Walter Mischel.
The marshmallow test. I've heard the name but don't know the detail. What kind of experiment is it?
You give a 4-year-old kid one marshmallow and tell them if you wait 15 minutes, you'll get another.
Simple experiment. But what does it reveal?
The follow-up results were shocking. Kids who couldn't wait more than a minute at age 4 were more likely to have academic and social problems 12 years later.
Behavior at age 4 affects them 12 years later?
Even more, kids who waited the full 15 minutes scored an average of 210 points higher on the SAT, the U.S. college entrance exam. Whoa.
210 points! That's a huge difference.
A 4-year follow-up study, published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2011, confirmed this difference persists into adulthood.
They tracked them for 40 years. That's incredible research. But why such a difference?
Mischel proposed that the brain has a hot system and a cool system.
Hot and cool. Are they categorizing by temperature?
It's metaphorical. The hot system is the emotional, impulsive system centered on the amygdala. It seeks now rewards.
I see hot, because it's impulsive.
Meanwhile, the cool system is the rational cognitive system centered on the prefrontal cortex. It considers long-term outcomes.
Cool because it's calm. So these two are competing in the brain?
Exactly. A 2004 Harvard study confirmed that when balancing short-term rewards with long-term goals, two brain regions literally compete for behavioral control.
Like a tug-of-war in the brain.
Great analogy. The ventral striatum, which responds to immediate rewards, and the prefrontal cortex, which handles future planning.
So scientifically correct behavior is usually what the cool system supports, seeking long-term benefits.
Sharp observation. Yeah, most scientifically correct conclusions involve delayed rewards. The payoff comes later after the effort.
Like exercise today for health 10 years later, or save energy today to protect the planet decades from now.
Exactly. But the brain's hot system strongly craves now pleasure, so it often loses the tug-of-war with the cool system. Let's dive deeper into the mechanisms that make the brain prioritize now.
This is continuing the hot and cool systems discussion.
Right. In behavioral economics, there's a concept called temporal discounting rate.
Temporal discounting rate? What does that measure?
Humans perceive rewards available immediately as highly valuable, but the value decreases the more delayed the reward is. This quantifies that tendency.
Can you give me a concrete example?
Sure. Anna, would you choose 10,000 yen today, or 11,000 yen in 1 year?
Well, waiting a year gets you an extra 1,000, but if I can have it today, I'd take it today.
Most people answer that way. But what about 10,000 yen in 10 years versus 11,000 yen in 11 years?
Then I'd go for the 11,000 in 11 years. If I'm already waiting 10 years, 1 more year for an extra 1,000 makes sense.
Interesting, right? Same 1 year difference, but judgment gets distorted when now is involved.
True? That's weird when you think about it.
Research by Professor Shinsuke Ikeda at Osaka University found this discounting happens hyperbolically.
Hyperbolically? Tell me more.
The closer you are to now, the more sharply the value drops. But as you get farther out, the decline becomes more gradual.
So the difference between today and tomorrow feels huge, but between 10 years and 11 years doesn't feel like much.
Exactly. And this is incompatible with the rewards of scientifically correct health behaviors.
What do you mean?
Let's look at specific. The reduction in lung cancer risk from quitting smoking takes 10 to 15 years to actually feel.
Over 10 years. That's a long time.
For exercise habits, it takes several years to decades for heart disease risk reduction to become clear.
Decades. That's mind-boggling.
For dietary improvements, the diabetes prevention effects become evident after 5 to 10 years.
None of these are right now. The HOT system doesn't respond to any of this.
Right. According to the National Center for Geriatrics and Gerontology, behavior change to establish exercise habits has multiple stages.
What stages?
From pre-contemplation to contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. Just providing scientifically correct information often can't even get people through the first stage.
So information alone isn't enough. What is needed?
We'll get to that later, but first let's look at concrete examples of how science communication has actually failed.
Like vaccines and climate change?
Exactly! First, vaccine hesitancy. The WHO, World Health Organization, identified vaccine hesitancy as one of the top 10 global health threats in 2019.
Top 10 threats. It's that serious.
Scientifically, vaccine safety and efficacy are backed by massive amounts of data. But research published in Frontiers in Medicine found something interesting.
What did they find?
People who believe vaccine misinformation have high general anxiety levels but low COVID anxiety, and may be using misinformation to reduce anxiety.
Wait, reducing anxiety with misinformation? What does that mean?
Basically, misinformation isn't just a mistake. It serves a psychological function.
Psychological function?
The belief that vaccines are dangerous gives people a sense that I can control what happens to my body.
Ah, I see. By choosing not to get vaccinated, they gain a sense of control.
Right? Wait. Just throwing scientific facts at them can't address this psychological need.
So what happens if you counter with correct information?
A study from Tel Aviv University in Israel tested 3 strategies to counter vaccine myths. Text only, text with images, text with stories.
Which strategy worked?
None of them worked, or they backfired.
What? They all failed?
Misinformation has a troublesome property. It remains in memory.
Once you believe it, you can't forget it.
Exactly. This illustrates the difficulty of science communication. Now let's look at failures in climate change communication. There's a fascinating phenomenon called the consensus paradox.
Consensus paradox! Even though scientists agree, there's a paradox?
Oh yeah. As science became more convincing, public opinion became more divided.
Wait, the stronger the scientific evidence, the deeper the division? Isn't that backwards?
Over 97% of climate scientists agree on human-caused climate change, yet communicating this consensus doesn't necessarily lead to attitude change.
97% is basically everyone, and people still don't believe it?
A 2024 analysis in Fast Company identified self-defeating failures in climate communication.
Self-defeating failure? Like shooting yourself in the foot?
Exactly. The problem is especially with urgency framing. Messages like, if we don't act now, terrible things will happen.
But isn't that the truth? It really is urgent, right?
Whether it's true and whether it's effective are separate issues. Research up to 2021 showed that urgency framing for climate change has no positive effect on public engagement.
No effect? Why not?
Fear appeals grab attention temporarily, but if people don't feel they have the ability to deal with the threat, they defensively reject the information.
So, if it's too scary, people just look away.
Right. This is called defensive motivation, also known as the boomerang effect.
Like throwing a message and having it come back at you.
And making this problem worse are social media algorithms.
Social media is making the problem worse? How?
A 2020 study from Osaka University revealed the mechanisms of risk information spread via social media.
What did they discover?
Analyzing natural disaster posts on Twitter, they found emotional posts, especially expressing anger or fear, were shared significantly more than neutral information.
Anger and fear get shared more.
A 2025 study published in PNEA's Nexus had an even more interesting finding.
What finding?
When you ask users what kind of content do you want to see, most people say they prefer accurate and nuanced content.
Everyone says they like accurate information. That makes sense.
But what actually goes viral, spreads explosively, is simple, emotional content.
So people say one thing, but do another?
Right. This contradiction reveals the gap between user preferences and algorithmic choices.
The algorithm prioritizes emotional content?
Social media platforms are designed to maximize engagement, likes, shares, comments. Scientifically accurate, but complex, conditional, and modest information structurally loses to simple, definitive, and emotionally stimulating information.
That's a structural problem. Individual effort can't fix it.
A 2023 Northwestern University study pointed out that social media algorithms exploit how humans learn from peers.
Exploit is a pretty strong word. What do they mean?
We evolutionarily tend to judge what many people around us believe as correct. This ability has helped survival.
Like what everyone does is safe as a judgment criterion.
Right? But algorithms can manipulate this tendency to make minority opinions appear as majority viewed.
That's pretty scary. The information you see might be distorted.
That's why understanding this structure is so important.
Sci では言う最新版本当のやつ X を開くその瞬間カチッと心に録音心強が許されるのは見張りがいない今だけ関数は腐り F は関心もそして上司はビマルが愚信者 Excel 刑務所足した国家の人の数へ用途列に挟まれてどこにもない価値を必死で演してる計算の中で生きてるふり今日も関数に詰まって辛抱ぜピボットテーブルごとをそしてマクロが暴れ出せ
Given all these problems, let's look at what experts are proposing.
Are there any solutions?
Storytelling research experts writing a journal of science communication make an important point.
What point?
They say science communication has long relied on a one-way information transmission model.
One way? From scientists to citizens?
Right. The attitude of let me teach you the correct information. That was the problem.
It feels condescending?
A mid-technology review article on tips for talking to the unvaccinated emphasizes the importance of listening.
Listening? Not conveying information?
Right. Not dismissing their concerns, but first trying to understand. That attitude becomes the entry point for dialogue. Whoa.
I see. Don't push.
And experts are focusing on the power of story.
Stories? Storytelling for science.
Research from the National Academy of Sciences published in PNAS show that information presented in narrative form is 20 times more memorable than facts alone.
20 times! That's a huge difference.
A 2024 study in science communication introduced an effective framework called the ABT framework guide.
ABT? What's it stand for?
And but, therefore, it's a story structure, situation setup, complication, resolution.
Like the basic structure of a story.
A 2023 review in Feb's Letters argues that storytelling transforms science communication.
Why are your stories so effective?
Humans are evolutionarily designed to understand the world through stories. Stories with concrete characters and events get imprinted deeper in the brain than abstract data or statistics.
True. I forget numbers quickly, but remember impressive stories.
There's also an interesting finding. When scientists talk about their own research, they're perceived as having higher expertise than when a third party presents it.
Talking in person adds credibility?
Exactly. And there are actual success stories.
Success cases? I want to hear them.
A systematic review published in The Lancet analyzed several successful cases.
What cases?
First, the Truth Campaign anti-smoking campaign. It adopted a counter-marketing strategy exposing the tobacco industry's manipulative market.
Not saying tobacco is bad for you.
No, well, it offered young people the value of rebellion, appealing to the emotion of don't be fooled by a tobacco company.
Ah, not preaching, but appealing to rebellious spirit.
It successfully reduced smoking rates significantly.
An approach that doesn't push correctness worked.
Another is the Verb campaign promoting physical activity, targeting kids aged 9 to 13.
A campaign to get kids to exercise.
Right, it positioned physical activity as fun and cool, focusing on social value, not health benefits.
Not exercise is healthy, but exercising is cool.
Exactly! And it achieved population level change.
What do these success stories have in common?
Not putting correctness front and center, but using approaches that align with the target audience's values and emotions.
Not telling people what's scientifically correct, but connecting to what they care about.
Finally, let's talk about future prospects. What can be done to reconcile science and happiness?
Is there a path forward?
A 2024 study in Frontiers in Psychology confirmed that misinformation processing is influenced by both motivated bias and cognitive bias.
So we need to address both.
Right. Well, we need design that considers not just information accuracy, but the recipient's psychological needs and cognitive load.
What specific improvements are possible?
First, thoughtful sequencing. Don't start with the conclusion, the need for sacrifice, but first show empathy and understanding. Then share the process of how you reach that conclusion.
Not so exercise, but starting with, I understand how you feel.
Exactly. Second, stories over numbers. Mr. Tanaka started walking daily, and 3 years later, his doctor praised him and his checkup as more memorable and motivating. Then exercise reduces heart disease risk by 30%. Yes.
True. A specific person's story is easier to imagine.
Third, designing small wins. Not just long-term rewards, but building in short-term, tangible success.
Like what?
For exercise, consciously reinforcing the sense of accomplishment from walking 15 minutes today. Give rewards to the hot system too.
I see. Not rely on a cool system.
Fourth, supporting self-efficacy. Messages like you can do this instead of you're bad. Not just pointing out problems, but showing solvability.
Encouraging instead of blaming. Important for avoiding that defensive motivation too.
And there's technological potential.
Technology can solve this.
Algorithm problems might be solved by algorithms. The 2025 research showed users actually prefer accurate and nuanced content.
Right. the mismatch between what people say and do.
If platforms shift their metrics from engagement maximization to user satisfaction maximization, the environment for spreading scientifically accurate information could.
It depends on platform design.
There's also the potential for personalized communication.
Communication tailored to individuals?
Right. Research is advancing on technology to present the same scientific facts in different forms, adapted to individual values, cognitive styles, and psychological need.
Same facts, but tailored delivery.
According to analysis from the University of Michigan School of Public Health, health campaigns have an average effect of about 5 percentage points.
5%? Sounds kinda small.
You might think it's small, but at the population level, it has significant impact. The problem is this small effect means individuals can't feel the change.
Which undermines motivation to continue the behavior.
That's why science communication now needs a paradigm shift from conveying correctness to building trust and conviction.
Paradigm shift. A fundamental transformation in thinking.
This isn't about rejecting science. It's about evolving how we deliver science to human heart. Let's wrap up today's discussion.
Yeah, this went pretty deep.
The reason scientific correctness doesn't make people happy isn't about information quality. It's a mismatch between human cognitive and emotional systems and science communication structures.
Brain structure and how science is communicated don't mesh.
First, the brain processes understanding and acceptance separate. Even knowing scientific facts, if they don't get registered as valuable choices in the brain, behavior won't change.
Head knows it, but if your heart doesn't move, you don't act.
Second, humans overvalue now rewards and discount future ones. Most scientifically correct behaviors involve delayed rewards, so they're structurally disadvantaged.
The marshmallow test. Pod system versus cool system tug of war.
Third, social media algorithms prioritize emotional, simple content. Scientifically accurate, but complex information doesn't go viral easily.
Platform structure itself blocks the spread of scientific information.
Fourth, scientifically correct information often comes with effort, sacrifice, guilt, high psychological costs.
It feels like being told you're bad.
But this mismatch isn't insurmountable.
There's hope!
Through the power of stories, proper framing, cultural sensitivity, and using social context, reconciling scientific accuracy and human well-being is possible.
The success of truth and verb campaigns proves that.
Right. Communication that doesn't push correctness has proven effective.
Is there anything we as individuals can do?
I think understanding this structure is the first step. Instead of getting frustrated that correct information doesn't resonate, we can start thinking, how can we reconcile science and happiness?
Not labeling people stupid is important too.
Exactly. Due to brain structure, being resistant to scientifically correct information is natural for humans. With that as the premise, we need to devise better communication methods.
Today's discussion really made me think about my own judgment.
Confirmation bias, temporal discounting, we're all subject to these.
What did you all think of this? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.
We might reply directly to some comments, so feel free to share. Today's topic was why scientifically correct things don't make people happy.
We covered everything from brain mechanisms to social media algorithms.
Science matters, but how we deliver it to people's hearts matters just as much.
Thanks for listening today.
See you next time. This was Casey and
Haru. Bye.